Welcome back to the off-season episode 5. It has been a cracking first 4. We've got Jackson Hastings joining us once again. And, mate, I've meant to give it to you last time for your debut jersey. But
yes, is it embroidered?
Yeah, mate, fucking sure is. There you go. Now, this has been worn by some of the greats, including myself.
Shake my hand.
Matty. The list goes on and on, mate. So welcome to the squad.
Oh, mate, it's an honour.
Congratulations on your debut.
Can't wait to play.
I'm
Thanks
expecting
so much.
bigger things here just quietly. Matty, you got yours a few months ago. One of the great moments, right?
I'm off.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the first ones in the wash and ironed every week. That one.
Now, today, a really exciting one, a little bit of an obscure one. This one screams Matty the Water Boy, 2 a.m., Botany Road, carrying on with his mates. So really looking forward to this one. Essentially, we've gone, which individual player would you pick to build an entire 13 out of? So that player playing fullback, centre, wing, halfback, 5'8". You're obviously going to give and take a little bit here and there. They might lack a kicking game. They might lack a little bit of pace, whatever it might be. So we've got 3 players, one each, that we're going to choose. We're going to kick off with the Water Boy first of all. I'm sure I don't need to remind you all that he's a Souths fan, but if I did, you're about to get a little heads up. Matty?
So I always try and put my bias aside with these questions, but it's just impossible for this one when throughout this guy's entire career, especially playing for the Rabbitohs, I've always thought this bloke could play any position. This bloke could play any position, and he did play half the positions, Greg Inglis. And when I was going through this list, I had like a couple, probably like 5 or 6, but this guy was the first one I thought of and was undisputed number 1 for me. If you just go through his achievements and accolades, he won the Dally M 5'8" of the year in 2008, I'm going to say. He won the Clive Churchill medal playing 5'8" in 2007. He won the Golden Boot, I'm pretty sure, at centre.
Yep.
And then he wasn't even known for any of those positions. He was known for being a fullback for the Rabbitohs, won a comp in 2014. For State of Origin, he still got the top try scoring record for Queensland. He played that at centre. He played a couple of games on the wing. So those are all the things that he did do. Now, obviously, he never played in the forward pack. He never played in the middle. He never played on the edge. Now, the edge is the easy one. We all know, like, he would have been, if Greg Inglis played on the edge, he would have been so fucking destructive. He would have been absolutely phenomenal. He's only one position in from centre. Like,
That's a halfback's nightmare.
oh, imagine that. Now, the one that probably is the most contentious is Greg Inglis playing in the middle, not because of anything. Like, he's obviously got the frame for it. He's got the quickest play the ball in the history of rugby league. Maybe his motor wouldn't be the best, but can you imagine running out and seeing fucking 17 Greg Inglises on the other side? You're like, you're just no chance. What do you reckon?
And I think that's where GI obviously never played in the forwards, and it'd be stupid if you did play him in the forwards at any point, which you got to take into consideration. But I think that when I think about if you play with 13 GIs, you wouldn't play a traditional sort of game.
No chance.
Which is where it'd all. I mean, you're all probably the best mind to talk about this. How would you change it if you were running out with 13 sort of GIs?
Against or with?
If you were coaching them.
I would sit back with a cigarette and a beer as a coach and think this will be 60. Because it doesn't matter how many points the opposition would score, you would triple it. It's as simple as that. And you can talk about the motor and whatever. Greg's a high octane, put him in the garage, bring the Ferrari out when you need him type of player. And I remember playing against him my first ever game, and he was literally like a god to me, like the way he would just run around the field. So having one Greg Inglis is scary enough, but to have 13 would arguably be the most scary prospect ever. Because as you said, he was gifted enough to play in the back line, and he went through a stage where he was lean, tall, or he's always been tall, but lean, blinding speed to kick returns, would run over front rowers. Like, he was that big and powerful from the back, and he could pass. So if you put 13 of them on the field, you just wear no numbers on the back and just literally play GI ball, which is going to be hard to defend against.
You have a look through his career, like, he played 148 games at centre. He played 128 at fullback.
How many played 6?
How many do you reckon?
30, 40? Did you play 2 seasons there?
48.
Yeah.
48 games at 5'8", 27 tries.
That try in the grand final he scored is probably the most. We spoke about grand finals last time we were on the podcast, but in terms of watching someone in full flight and go, that's beautiful. When he went down the sideline and he had in his left duke and just went boom and palmed off. Was
it Robertson?
Was it Brett Stewart or Robertson? It was one of the two. But in terms of actually watching someone glide, the term glide, that's gliding. Like a fuck.
There was a try that he scored for Queensland and Origin once where he got it. He was on the left side. He was sort of on the tram line, and he had Kirk Gidley.
Oh yeah.
And he went in and away, but his away there was only 10 metres to work with there.
That's enough.
And he left Gidley for dead. And Kirk Gidley, no slouch as well. Gidley went full stretch dive and couldn't even get a paw on him.
Who were the two poor blokes that remember he went in out, palmed the centre, he fell over, he jumped him and then threw the winger as well. Was it Stevie Turner?
Was one of them, I think.
And I don't know who the centre was that he
was it Wolfman?
I think it might have been David Williams. Yeah. That's my memory of it.
Because he hurdled one. And then before the winger could make a decision, he grabbed him by the collar and threw him and then jumped him. Yeah, he was in terms of greatest ever athletes, like in rugby league sense, that is, like for me, he's top 3 easily, probably 1 easily. When you look at physically gifted and could just give him the ball and do something, like special isn't even big enough to say about him.
There's a try that he scores in like his first season, I think it was, where, and you know when you look back at the old tapes of GI and you think, how skinny was this bloke?
Yeah.
Like it's
lean.
And there's a play where Melbourne get off the scrum and they throw it out to the first man that skips past him. The ball hits the ground. Everyone freezes for a second. And he gets it. And he gets it with 2 men outside him in defence. And he just runs around them.
Yeah, like under 7s.
Like no one even touched him. The ball hit the ground. It wasn't a set play. They didn't do anything to create space for him.
Yeah.
He just picked it up and just went, I'll just run around. Like honestly, like under 7s.
What about in some of the Origin games when we spoke about this on the previous show, how good that team was? And we always talk about Smith, Cronk, Slater, how they dominated the games. But I've always wondered if they took GI out of that left centre spot. Does Darius score all the tries he scored? And those games where New South Wales lost 8-4 with a bit of GI brilliance from his own 20, are they ever different? And I know in hindsight you can never take it back, but just being a huge fan of watching Origin, obviously it's the pinnacle, well, international games pinnacle, but for New South Welshmen and Queenslanders, that's the game. I don't know, man. Like, if you take GI out of that squad, does it change?
It's not 8. In my opinion, it's not 8.
Yeah.
For as good as that team was, the amount of times they just went, boom, GI early to create something.
Because in the halves, they could go Cherry, Cronk, Thurston. They were the rotation there, obviously. And then you got to remember Michael Morgan come in and played that 14 for him.
Scott Prince was there early.
Yeah,
too.
Prince. They had Smith never got injured, like he was a robot, so you can't even say he would miss a game. So I mean, like they had Hodges on the right, who was like remarkable. Darius, Slater, and Izzy for the first part of it. But I think if you take GI out of that team, man, I don't know if it looks different, but they haven't got that threat of, we'll just pass the ball to the big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're obviously all New South Wales. You still a blue or what do you call me? What's going on?
I can't answer that on air. I go the Blues.
Yeah, obviously 3 New South Welshmen, but I genuinely believe that if you throw him over to our side, which you fucking should have in the first place, but anyway, that's fine. I genuinely do think it's a different conversation. And Matty, that try that he scored in that grand final with the Goanna at the end.
Oh, it's just beautiful, isn't it? With like all the red and green in the background, it's just meant to be.
Oh, bro, against the Doggies.
Yeah.
But even then, like, how beautiful did it look even just in full flight, taking the fullback on?
Brilliant. What about that try scored earlier in that year against Brisbane, where Benny Barber puts the kick in and he beats like 7 people one-on-one? Has to stop and start about 6 times.
Who was the prop that chased to the death? And was it Marty Kennedy?
Kennedy, yeah.
He went for the big swanny at the end of ankle tackle, missed him by about 1,000,000 miles.
I'll never forget, I was away on a boys' weekend for that, and I was playing beer pong out the back, and I just heard in the room next to us was the TV, and I just heard about 15 voices go, "Oh my God." And I remember freezing going, GI, I just knew who was playing. I thought GI must have just done something.
Yeah.
Ran in there and just thought, oh my fucking
I was at that game. I was up in Suns Court on the halfway line. Just had the most beautiful view of it. It was
that's when that's when he was filled out. That's big GI moving like that too.
Yeah.
Like when I say like greatest athletes to have played our game. Like, it's hard to argue when you see someone made like that, move like that. Like, it's incredible, man.
I mean, like we mentioned before, the career of Darius Boyd in Origin. But I also think, like we talk about the guy outside GI, how many times did Thurston slip through on that left edge simply because you pretty much had to two-man GI and just hope that he got the ball when you
Well, didn't we go through a stage where we'd play, like, we'd just pick Bo Scott there to try and fight him and stuff, like unsettle him?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? Like, imagine being that tough that you get thrown out there to try and fight GI. That's your job. That's like, I mean, it's a credit to Bo Scott. I mean, anyone that had to mark, I was about to say Latrell because of how scary both, gifted both guys are. Like, it's so scary how similar they are, obviously, the way they play. But to mark, I almost said it again, to mark GI, like, pretty big rap.
Well,
for
it was
Bo
almost
Scott.
like we picked Bo Scott to fight him, and then, that's not working. We'll just tone it back a little bit. We'll pick Josh Morris, the best defensive centre.
Yeah,
we can
which
find.
would have been the ideal situation.
I'll tell you what would have been unreal to watch, and I don't think their careers would have lined up, but if we could have had Matty Cooper to mark up against him, I reckon he's one of the best defensive
So
centres.
strong, too.
Mate, he would have been unreal. I don't know if even he could have handled, which is all due respect to Matty Cooper.
Here's one for you, boys. Now that I just said it, and I haven't really thought about it too deeply till right now. I know they both play on the left, but if Greg was still playing when Latrell played or vice versa, if you had a Latrell Mitchell versus Greg Inglis one-on-one matchup in the centres for Origin, like, I'm not saying who would win because I reckon both men on their day would get the better of the other.
Yeah.
But to actually be alive to witness that, and I'm not doing any disrespect by saying that Latrell is as gifted as Greg in terms of physical attributes and the way they move. Those two up against each other would probably be the best one-on-one matchup in any rugby code that you could ever get.
Yeah, no doubt. That would be amazing.
Like, as a fan, and if I was playing in the NRL at the time, I'd pay top dollar to sit as close as I could to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, that would be fucking, like, mind-blowing to me to watch two 6'3" plus physical beasts that could run the 100 in 12 seconds just try and get the better of one another. It'd be
It's like
fucking
the two apex predators, coming together.
I just would love to have watched that.
So GI as your best 1 to 13,
GI.
love it. We'll take
Wait,
a
sorry, I take it back. Latrell would have played against Greg in Origin, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I think he would have been playing fullback by that point. GI. What did the year that GI captained Queensland? I think he was playing fullback. I'm not sure if they ever went.
But they did play an Origin series against each other, I'm sure.
Yeah, they did in 2018.
But they're also both left.
Yeah, right, exactly right. Yeah,
So they wouldn't have marked up one-on-one on it.
because that's when Latrell was getting in.
Chambers.
Yeah, they were getting into it. Yeah,
So yeah,
right.
GI did play centre, but yeah, it would have been
See,
onside.
like, he was up against Turbo, which was obviously a pretty good matchup as well.
Yeah.
Tough gig within itself.
That was that game at where they played in Melbourne when GI was flying around smashing everyone. I remember he got Nath Cleary once.
Yeah.
I think he might have got Tedesco at the back.
Wasn't
got
it
Turbo.
when he was made the captain and he just
he just
took it
went
upon
next level.
himself? Yeah.
Yeah, he was up against Turbo was the wing that year. He was up
was
against
he?
James Roberts. Jimmy Roberts, yeah.
Jet, yeah.
Yeah.
What a bloke.
Jimmy the Jet. Fuck. I still remember.
Untapped potential, eh?
Bro, I remember when I was 18 in year 12, he was 2 years younger than me. 2 years, I think he was. 2 years younger than me, and he was playing for Souths in the 2010 Toyota Cup, Matty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he played in the 2010 Toyota Cup Grand Final. He got man of the match in the 2013 Toyota Cup Grand Final. That's 4 years.
So when I was obviously at the Tigers with Jimmy and formed a pretty good bond with him, like we done a few things in preseason camps where you learn about each other's backgrounds and like what you've gone through, and obviously it's always good to hear people's stories and that. And anyway, we played on the same side of the field, so you form a connection with someone, and I've got the utmost respect for not only his upbringing but like what he's become of a man. And obviously I would have loved to have seen him still play. He's got a bad back and all the rest of it, and he thought it was his time to hang him up. But what gets underestimated with Jimmy is how smart he is. Like his football IQ, and to actually dissect a game and a game plan. And he used to say, like, defensively for me, he made my job so much easier because he'd be like, right, I'm going to get up high on the pass. I'm going to do this. Noffer, I need you to do that, or whoever's outside him. Make sure you get your back row to take 2 steps and hold, because the half likes to go play off his right foot. So, like, yeah, Jimmy the Jet, fast, athletic, gifted, super talent, but upstairs, like footy sense, I've played with some good centres, and he'd be right up there in the conversation with smartest I've played with, like incredible man. Just thought he deserved me to chuck that in there, and
For sure.
hopefully he finds happiness in what he does away from footy now, which I'm sure he will.
100%. Mate, take us to your selected player.
Yeah, I went with one of the best athletes to play multiple sports. I went with Sonny Bill. I just think 6'5", 100+ kilos. I think he obviously played centre for the All Blacks and over in rugby union, played inside and outside. Played lock, back row, he played 5'8" for the Roosters a few times. If you look, he actually throws a ball, the first game against the Dogs, back from Union. He throws that left to right cutout to Tuivasa-Sheck at Allianz Stadium. He flies down the right-hand sideline and scores. But I think he could play fullback. Obviously, tracking across for the Grubbers would be hard because of how big he is to pick up. I think he could play wing so easy. He'd be a kick target. Centre's natural to him. Played 5'8". Controlling the team at halfback would obviously be difficult, but he could play prop easy anywhere in the middle. And then maybe hooker and fullback would probably be the two hardest for him. Bending down to pick up the ball, he'd probably get a sore back. But, yeah, we spoke about how physically gifted GI was. I mean, Sonny Bill to look at, he's incredible, isn't he?
I think, especially with your two picks, like if you were to make this, if you could take a GI from a certain year and a Sonny Bill from a certain year, the team would be like if you could take early Sonny Bill to chuck him out in the centres, then late Sonny Bill into the pack, unreal side, halves, hooker would obviously be your big challenge.
Yeah.
But fuck, your game plan would be pretty simple, wouldn't it?
I mean, the Roosters won a lot of games with him playing 6, and defensively, obviously, more than capable at 5'8". But I think what got lost with Sonny was because of the big hits and the running over people, but his actual skill with the football in his hands. Like, he worked as hard, if not harder than anyone on, like, just little passing techniques, like holding the ball on your hip. And I know they do a lot of that in union, and he brought that back to league, and he worked on it very hard. But there was a lot of set plays at the Roosters at the time where Sonny would get the ball, and he, like, yeah, obviously had Glenn Stewart and people like that would have the centre lead for Brett. But, like, he did it at the Roosters. And, I mean, like, he didn't get the Clive Churchill that year when they won the comp, but that second half's one of the best halves of footy I've ever seen, especially in a big game. What do you boys reckon?
Did you play much footy with him?
So I played, my first year was with him. My first year was with him, so 14, and then he went off to Union again. Right. I remember
you would have done like a pre-season with him in 13 and stuff though.
I made my debut, and I don't know if you remember, I don't know if he remembers this. He's obviously had so many moments in his life. I doubt that he remember this, but I remember he meant this in the best possible way as well, but I always tell my friends about it. He come up to me about 30 minutes before warm-up, and he gave me a big hug, and he said, "Congrats, you deserve to be here, blah, blah, blah." Obviously, I was in awe of the man. Thanks a lot. Didn't know where to look, like at his six-pack or his eyes or whatever. And he just goes...
Same as when he walked in, I said hello to him, Matty, weirdly enough.
And he as he went to walk away, he turned back quickly and went, "Oh, one more thing." And I was thinking, "Oh, here we go." And he goes, "When I call hot, just give me the ball, yeah?" And I went, "No worries, mate. You can have it whenever you want." And that's one moment that'll stick with me forever. But he's so good with, like, the young players in the squad. Like, he leads by example, obviously. But how down to earth he is, because he's a global superstar. Like, with Adidas, I don't know how many there are off the top of my head, but he's literally like a global poster boy. So for a rugby league player / rugby union player to be that, like, and you've got tennis players, golf players, NBA players, NFL players, for him to be up with them, it's pretty crazy. But 13 Sonny Bills, what do you reckon?
You talk about that 13, that second half. I'll go back a couple of games, and we talk about GI versus Sonny Bill. There was a game in the last round of the year which was going to determine the minor premiership, South versus Roosters. It was at ANZ, full crowd. And early in the game, Sonny Bill shot up and Inglis bumped him off and scored. And it was like fucking crazy because he beat Sonny Bill.
I think that game, you know what I think that game was? Yeah. I don't think that was then. I think that was the 14 prelim. Oh, no, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't that his first game back?
No, that was Sam. That was Sam.
Oh, sorry, right.
Yeah, so Inglis scored, you look it up, Inglis scored this mad try, and I remember I was at the ground thinking, fuck, all right, Inglis 1-0 here.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, Sonny Bill was the best player on the field. Absolutely dominated, like set up 2 long-range tries. Roosters win the minor premiership, Roosters win the comp that year.
I think, and you mentioned it before, that 2013 grand final, like I probably thought his first half was probably with the lowest first halves he'd had all year.
You got to give credit to the forward though. Hagel was forward defensively.
100%. Yep. But then he came out in that second. The Chooks don't win that if he's not in the field.
I agree. I think everyone would agree. And that's why they signed him too. Like you sign players like Sonny and GI to win your comps, and they're both just winners. That's what they've done everywhere they've gone. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'll never forget that moment. Just pass me the ball. I went, no worries. Whenever you want it. Don't even call hard. I'll just give it to you anyway.
It's crazy. Like as you said, like you've got this moment of Sonny Bill that wouldn't mean anything to him. Like every single person I talk to that's ever had anything to do with him has a Sonny Bill moment that they talk about. Yeah. He must just hear all these and just go, I don't even recall that occur. Yeah, like it must just be so stock standard for him that everyone's got these moments about him. Just crazy.
But isn't it mad that like he is created like a player that you could create on your PlayStation, like big.
He's a prototype.
Muscly,
he's the prototype.
Good sort, well spoken, tattoos are perfect, but then just like a down to earth, just humble human. Like it's crazy, man. And he's done it in so many sports now. Like he's boxing Mark Hunt.
Yep.
Like, and if he wins that, like who knows where he's going to go with his boxing. Like it's pretty incredible, man.
He's a freak. I don't know. I'm sure we will see more like him just because of how it changes over time. But for the time that he did what he did, unbelievable.
I don't think we'll ever see an offloader like Sonny. Like no one can go to the line and run to bust and offload like he did.
Wasn't it crazy that first night against Parramatta when he made his debut and he was doing these ones and he was just. We'd all heard about it in the preseason, but how often do you get to those games and you go a little bit overawed for the moment? He was just so far above. It was crazy. There was
one game when he came back for the Roosters so it was 2013 he came back, right? Yeah. And then he played the Dogs in round, I think it was, you mentioned in round 5 or whatever. And it was at Allianz Stadium and obviously the Bulldogs crowd were off him and the whole crowd were just chanting, Sonny's a wanker, Sonny's a wanker. I think he scores 2, sets up 2, he does whatever. By the end of the game, the whole crowd with Roosters fans were chanting, Sonny's a rooster, Sonny's a rooster.
So good,
it was fucking sick.
So good, man. Can you, I forgot what game. Oh, and he played the World Club Challenge for the Dogs. It must have been, obviously.
Yeah.
And have you seen those couple of highlights when he's knocking everyone out?
Oh yeah.
Like he's playing at Leeds at Headingley, one of the great grounds in the world. And here's Sonny just knocking people out. That's what. Who was the shot on? Oh, Joel Clinton. Remember that?
Oh, the big. Yeah, that's the big famous one.
That's arguably one of the best front-on frames of all time.
Really, it's brilliant. It's still shown on replays everywhere.
Here's one for you quickly before we go next player. You know that Sam Burgess moment where he runs back off the kickoff?
Yeah.
The dropout. I've never spoke to Sonny about this, but from my observation, and I might go home and watch this and text you after, he looks like he wants to go to shoulder charge and then gets caught in between a rock and a hard place. So I'm taking nothing away from Sam here either because Sam's smoked Fui off a dropout. Oh, he's smoked half the comp off all sorts of plays. Would that moment have been different if Sonny just went, fuck it, I'm going to shoulder charge here? Or do you reckon that, like...
Never thought of that. It's a good point.
Hypotheticals, I know, and I'm taking nothing away from Sam.
Yeah.
But I would have just loved to have seen the possibility of who goes backwards further if he was allowed a shoulder charge. It may have been the same result, but the intent and force that would have generated from both angles would have been like, who knows what would have happened? Is there a KO? Like, what happens there? What happens?
That is one of the great what ifs of all time. That would have been outstanding.
I thought it was, but I just wanted to double check. You know, you mentioned in that World Club Challenge, the guy knocked out. Do you remember who it was? Matty, we spoke about him the other day as far as underrated wingers.
Marcus Bai?
Yeah, Marcus Bai.
Yeah,
he was so hard to handle. And Sonny Bill, what would he have been then, 19?
About 13, playing NRL, just smashing everyone.
Unbelievable. Absolute freak. We spoke about Marcus Bai the other night.
Yeah, the jerseys. The Storm jersey.
Old Storm jersey.
Bro, they're underrated. Remember we spoke about good jerseys?
Yeah, those yellow collars. That was sick.
We had one the other day. What's your favourite jersey of all time?
Oh, what's yours? Because you put me on the spot there. I'm just trying to
think. I always loved the Canberra Milk. He chose that one though. So then I ended up going my number one. I chose a jersey that I loved, but I didn't love it because that team won a comp or something. So I went the 95 Warriors, that OG jersey. Who'd you have?
I had that Storm one. I had the
99.
Cowboys 2005 one, and I had what was my third one?
Yeah, you had the milk.
Oh, the milk. Yeah.
Mine's and this is because I was a Roosters fan. Mine's that white jersey they played in the GF against the
02
Warriors.
grand final. Yeah.
The white kit with the collar.
Yeah.
Freddie looked the grouse.
They bought
This
that.
might be the greatest
yeah.
segue of all time. I'm going to jump into my chosen player,
Boom.
Brad Fittler.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Very good. I'm going to choose Freddie as mine, and I'm sure that you guys will understand why. But just to show you, Dally M positional awards. Freddie won centre twice, lock once, 5'8" 3 times.
Fuck me.
So
dead.
that covers half your squad already. And as I said, same as you guys, if you could pick GI or Sonny Bill from certain times in their career to play certain positions, Freddie, I could cover the entire back line in the first 5 years of his career. And then Freddie, I could cover, I believe I could put him at back row or lock at any point throughout his career and he would dominate. Front row would be, I think, the biggest challenge by far and away. But fuck, the way that Freddie was one of those guys similar to Joey, and once again, I'll let you talk more about it, but if their pack wasn't dominating the middle,
Went off the back foot.
yeah, they just go, fuck it, give it here, I'll win it.
Yeah. I've got a question for you then. If you were coaching Freddie and he played in the back row, how would you want him to play? I know how he would play. He'd be that, give me the ball, I'll just create. But if you were coaching strategically and you obviously had a halfback and a 5'8", but you had Brad Fittler at 13, how are you playing?
It's tough because I'm trying to...
Hey, and you got to remember you're the guru, so you should know.
I know. You've really put me on the spot. I don't like getting asked questions, so I just like to talk. It's tough because I'm trying to think of other locks that I would compare him to, but there's no one that had... Like the way that those certain guys play.
And you don't have to think modern day either, by the way.
Well, you know who, and you'll understand it, some of these guys might not. When Jimmy Dimmick used to jump into 13,
Yeah.
that you sort of let him play off his head, but you also need to keep him square because he will create space all over the place.
He gives me like Brad Clyde vibes and like the same sort of build and toughness, and I don't know, man. Like when people talk about greatest players ever, Freddie's another one that just, why didn't people not say Brad Fittler? Like what holds them back from saying it? I don't get it.
I always say it. I don't, like Joey's an immortal and so he should be. Tell me Freddie didn't at least match it with him every time they played.
Here's one for you. What's your opinion on this? Greatest leader ever, rugby league wise, is Brad Fittler in the conversation? Because every team that he was a leader, a captain, whatever, he would have the respect of the whole playing group for one. But whenever people played against Freddie, and I've heard this from like hearing people speak, he's the one bloke that like would spray his teammates, but like not in the sense like, what the fuck are you doing? Like inspirationally, like get up, come on, let's go. Like, but then he would lead from the front. Like from watching as a fan of the Roosters and lucky enough to go in the sheds and stuff like that as a kid, just like there's no wonder he's had success as a coach. And I know like the Roosters thing didn't work out, but Origin series are won and lost by the skinny teeth. So I would never ever hold like an Origin series loss against any coach, let alone Freddie. But watch him lead on the field with words, but then with actions, like for me, for as long as I've watched footy, and obviously that's not as long as what other people have, he's probably the greatest leader I've seen with my own two eyes.
It's funny. I worked for New South Wales Rugby League for about 6 years.
Yeah.
So I worked pretty close with Freddie for a while. And pretty much everything you said just then on the field, he was just around an office, first of all. He was the exact same way. And then obviously to his team. Like we always said at New South Wales, he's the greatest. He's like, no wonder he had so much success because he's a fantastic leader. And he's a leader because he's a winner. He's just, everything he does is because he wants to win. And you're right. Like even little things, like I was like shooting a video for something and then he'd come over and like tell me, he'd give me advice. Like he's just little things like that. Like he's always trying to better himself and he's trying to better everyone around him to try and get the best result no matter what area of life you're in.
Yeah, I feel like since he's retired too, and obviously you can only watch from afar, but he's always doing something to help other people, like that New South Wales Blues thing. Is it called Hogs for Homeless?
Hogs for Homeless. I went on about 3 of them, yeah.
But like, he doesn't have to do that. Like, he's Brad Fittler, but he does it because he cares about other people.
100%.
Like, he's thrown himself into the coaching situation because he loves New South Wales. He loves footy. He obviously dove into the deep end there and like taken that on. He does the Channel 9 thing and does well with that. Like he's always doing something. And the way he talks on TV, yeah, him and Joey are funny. But when Freddie talks sense, everyone listens. Like when Freddie talks seriously, everyone listens. But he's got the balance between being funny Freddie, down to earth Freddie, and then serious Freddie. And I've actually played with him. That's one my claim to fame in the first ever Nines tournament.
The Nines.
When he took the intercept. And guess who chased him? We spoke about it just before. Same guy that chased GI.
Kennedy.
Like you think you're letting Brad Fittler score in the Nines, aren't you? Chased to the death. Tore his hammy. I remember he walked off and just said, "Thanks, boys. I'm done for the tournament," and just enjoyed the rest of the time.
I remember hearing him talk years after about that and saying that he was at training with you guys during the league.
Yeah, go on.
You know what I'm about to say?
Yeah,
he was sort of saying, like I was so much slower than all these guys, but I was watching them ball play, and I think he was talking about Piercy specifically. Yeah, and he was saying, I just knew what Piercy was going to do every time.
Yeah,
he sort of said that at training he was just picking them left, right, and centre.
This is the truest story ever. So he'd turn up the training with no shoes on, Freddie, and would be doing left v right, like dead serious, like full contact. Robbo would be standing behind us, like if you drop the ball, it'd be like, come on, like obviously they demand the highest levels. I remember he done it to me actually. He goes, "Watch out, young fella, I'm jumping in." And anyway, he's jumped in on the NRL defensive left edge, so like Boyd Cordner, like proper. Anyway, everyone's like, "What the fuck's he doing?" Like anyway, no shoes on, intercept, knockdown, pump the lead, intercept, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And Robbo was getting the shits. I don't know if he was getting the shits because the training session looked a bit sloppy because Freddie was too good, or he was getting the shits that no one could run around a 40-year-old. Like he was just that. His IQ was that far in front of what we were able to do that, yeah, he knocked it down. It would have been 6 again, but he didn't give a fuck because he knew what you were doing, and no one scored on him. Physically, no one ran over him, and no one would because it's Brad Fittler. You slow down and you show him the respect he deserves, but you couldn't get around him. Like, it was weird that no one could run a play that would trick him. No one. And they would have the footage of that session somewhere, and I hope one day, like it'd be great for that to get released and people would be able to see it. But what you said was that happened. That literally happened, and I couldn't believe it. No shoes on. And Joey's the same, but Joey turns up to training sessions with no shoes on. And he used to say, "Righto, boys, I'll put a pole 25 metres that way, catch it, zing it, hit it." And he'd do it as he said it, and you're standing there, rep 15, miss. Rep 25, miss. And he'd be sitting there going, "Fuck, come on," got his sunnies on, car keys.
He's got his all in his pockets. I remember watching Nate Cleary doing a session with him, and I was looking at it so close going, he's got his phone in his pocket. I can see it moving.
Yeah.
He's still nailing these kids.
He got a tattoo on his foot one day, true story, before, it must have been the day before he come to a Rooster session. We're doing a legit halves hour session on the poles, footwork drill, hand-eye drill, left to right spirals, short balls. And he's got this tattoo. I don't want to say what the wrong tattoo is. It was like a wave or something on his foot. I can't really remember. He's obviously still got it. And I looked at it and went, "Fresh tattoo, Joey?" He goes, "Yeah, he got it yesterday." So I just trained barefoot today. And he was just doing all these mad shit. Have you seen the Origin video? Were you in the Blues when he does the crossbar challenge from 40 out?
I've got the camera. I'm holding the camera.
He filmed it.
Shut up. What does he say? That's why they call me the 8.
He looks at us and goes, "That's why there's only 8 of us."
Oh, that's all time. Fuck,
So
that's
good.
And it's not even a fluke either. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Freddie deserves to be spoken about, like, with the Immortals. He has to be.
I don't understand why.
Have you got his record there, like, of all his stuff?
What do you want to know? All of his awards and everything?
Hey, I got a good Freddie one. He didn't play a full season in one position until his 11th season.
Yeah.
Is that 5'8" at the Chooks?
5'8" at the Roosters, yeah. I guess 98 doesn't really count because he played one game at lock. But before that, he was just
How
everywhere.
old was he in 98, sorry?
So, he was born in 72, so 82, he was about 26, 27.
You know he's captain the Kangaroos at 23.
It's mad, isn't it?
23 years old, he captained the Kangaroos. The test match before he captained was Mal Meninga. So that after going from Mal Meninga, who went on 4 Kangaroo tours that happen every 4 years, so that's 16 years of Kangaroos, they went with a 23-year-old, Brad Fittler.
What about, when did he play lock? Did he play lock for New South Wales or Australia first? That might be hard to find out.
No, I can find it.
Well, because when he arrived at the Roosters, he
You'd know
played
that,
lock
wouldn't you?
straight away. When he arrived at the Chooks in 96, because they had
Did he?
They had Garlic and they had Lammy, I think.
Lammy was definitely 7.
And I'm pretty sure Garlic was 6. And I think he was the captain at the time or something. I think there was a reason why he got shifted to 13. He just went, yeah, fuck it. He scores that that great try where there's no markers.
So he played one game at lock for Australia in 91, then he played consistently from 94, and then his first Origin game at lock was 95.
I would have loved to have seen him. Who would have played 6 though? So you got John 7. No one could play 6 over him, but could they really?
No.
Unless you randomly went like Noddy 7, John 6, Fittler. So who was 13 in those Origin teams when Freddie was 6? Was Brad Clyde would have been a couple, wouldn't he?
When Freddie was 6, it would have been. It was like 2000. So, yeah.
Brad Clyde would have been a couple, wouldn't
Ben
he?
Kennedy.
Scotty
what
Hill.
a player.
Then we got the next year was Luke Ricketson.
Oh, fair play.
Some handy footballers. That's what when he arrived at the Chooks in '96, it was Adrian Lamb and Andrew Walker. So he just jumped into 13.
I'll tell you what. Talk about 2 off-the-cuff halves.
Mate, Andrew Walker, we should have mentioned him in the most underrated of all fucking time. He was a freak.
Gifted.
Yeah.
Gifted. I didn't realise, so Lammy was my coach over in Super League. I know we're getting off the Brad Fittler thing, but I watched a lot of his stuff more as I got to know him on a deeper level. Like, he's a great bloke, good coach. Great bloke, great coach, sorry. I didn't try and differentiate the two there. But his highlight reel is a joke.
Yeah.
Lammy, for someone that's 4 foot nothing, ringing wet 64 kilos, like, he was a freak, Lammy. Like, underrated how good he was. Like,
Yeah.
Well, underrated for me anyway.
I think the other one that stands out with me for Freddie, and I think it's, for me personally, I was there for it. I think it's my favourite moment throughout his career, and it's one that people don't talk about. Once again, talk about great grand final tries when they lose. 2004, he puts in a perfect kick for Chris Walker for the
Banana
first try.
kick. I was just about to say
Left
that.
foot, banana screw kick, whatever you want to call it. He catches it on the full at top pace without moving. It's just, and it looks so easy when Freddie does it, but when have you ever seen another player land a kick that lands back over the ruck and is caught on the full at top speed?
Off his wrong
in
foot
a fucking
too.
grand final.
Off his wrong foot.
When everyone's fresh and it's early in the game.
Is that your favourite moment?
For Freddie, I think I was there and I just remember sitting there and going, because it was his last game, I remember sitting there going, oh my God, this is going to be his last game. It was the first try. They're going to win this grand final.
Yeah.
And that's going to go down as one of the most unbelievable grand final tries ever.
What's your? I got two Freddie moments. What's your one?
For sure, the Anzac Day try.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's
left,
yours?
left, right.
I got 2. So the one memory I remember as a kid, and like I was dead young when this happened, was it Villasandi that headbutted him?
Yeah.
I remember this so clearly, and when he's sitting there on the ground after he dropped the ball and he went to pick it up, and then he purposely head clashed with him. He could have laid there and carried on. And I just remember he got up. The trainer's trying to and shoved. Was it Ronnie Palmer?
Yeah, I'm sure
Probably,
it would
yeah.
I might text Ronnie Palmer and ask, but he shoves him, just wipes it with his shirt. They wrap his head up, and then he goes on and just carves up with blood pissing out of his face. That's one, and then 2's the charge down Origin,
yeah.
and then the memory. I hope he has this blown up in his house somewhere of him just carrying the ball like that.
Yeah, that iconic photo
That
with
lives in my head rent free every Origin. Whenever Origin runs around, like the moment of him. How good was he at charge downs? He done it all the time.
Yeah.
Him and Ryan Girdler were weird at intercepts and charge downs.
Yeah.
Like weird.
Because people forget that charge down. It was Darren Lockyer.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a play, but it was Lockyer. I think that's the image on the front of his book too.
Was that to seal it, or was the game wrapped up then, and that was just the icing on the cake?
Yeah. It was.
The game was wrapped up, but it was a decider. I'm pretty sure.
And that was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, he could play, Freddie. I'm trying to think of other moments now. There's, as we mentioned, there was that one that he scored, which you don't see anymore, but what was the rule when there was no markers? You used to be able to tap
and you
run,
could kick it forward and
he
shit.
just kicked it forward and dove on it. He had some.
What about the one where Joey bounces off his left on a wide 4 and goes to throw long and he snatches out the air? They beat him in was it a prelim?
Yeah, it was
I think it has to make the GF.
Yeah, in
2000 prelim.
Was that the one where they were up by a bit and Joey said enjoy Mad
They're up
Monday?
16-2.
Is that one?
Yeah.
And Joey said enjoy Mad Monday. Matty talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
And Joey threw his mouth guard about 10 foot into the ground.
yeah.
There was that one where Freddie, early in his career, chops down Mal Meninga. Seen that one?
Yeah, 1990 grand final.
Yeah, in the GF.
What about how much bounce Freddie as a kid had off his left foot? Like how springy it was. It wasn't just like a powerful in the ground like as he got older. Like he was sharp, Freddie, like sharp. And what would he play at? Would he have been 100 kilos in his prime? He would have been
His prime, I reckon.
because he was big.
Yeah.
He's a big body.
He was a huge body.
What is he? 6'2"?
Pretty tall.
Yeah, he's a big boy, man.
Yeah.
Like, got big hands and stuff. I think.
Yeah, big
Arse
hands,
too,
big
big-
wrists.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
I just remember like when I was a kid, I went to all the Roosters games. You'd watch him run out the tunnel, and you're like, there he is, Brad Fittler, and you just would like wherever he went, you were just like that, just watching him move.
Yeah.
And he was always involved. Like he played like a 7, really.
Yeah.
So like he could play like what you said. He obviously play anywhere in the back line, but some people can't play 6 and 7 in terms of controlling the game. But he did that from 6 anyway.
Yeah.
Whoever was his halves partner at the Roosters just piggybacked off what Freddie did regardless. And he had Benetti the goat at hooker.
Yeah, and then obviously Craig Wing came along and fucking
Oh
comboed
my
those two
God.
hard.
He needed to be an underrated halves. I know he played anywhere.
Yeah.
Sexiest man to play and underrated half. Like Craig Wing. Fuck.
I was talking to have you ever come across Bernie Gurr by any chance?
Nah, I know who he is.
Your old
but
man
nah.
would know him
Yeah,
and stuff.
I've never
yeah.
come across
So
him.
he played for the Chooks in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then he was the CEO.
right, yeah.
Came back and he during that period, so during the whole Brad Fittler things, he was there for that entire time. Really successful man, Bernie Gurr, genius. And he said that at the end of the 99 season, Brad Fittler he'd won the comp with Penrith 10 years ago, but he'd gone to the Roosters. He was the Australian captain, and he hadn't really achieved anything in clubland since he was at Penrith, and he was the centre in that team. So he didn't own his own premiership.
Yeah.
And Bernie said that he came back at the end of 99 for the 2000 preseason, returned early, and he said that like him and Phil Gould were just like, fuck, something's happened here, something's clicked.
Yeah.
He went in 4 of the next 5 grand finals, 1 in 02, and was just, and like, I still think unbelievable that side only won 1 premiership
Yeah.
from those 5 years.
I hate how people hold winning a comp compared to losing in the grand final against people. I get the ring thing and I get the wins, but how many comps did he play in? Like grand finals did he play in? 5, 6,
Say
7?
6, I think.
6. Yeah,
Like that's
4.
a like some people don't get to play in 1.
Yeah, 6.
He's played in 6. So I mean, like, I get you want to win the comp, like that's blatantly obvious, and no one plays to come second and go well done. And they always say people never remember the losers, but like for the people that actually compete in that grand final, like fuck.
You know, another moment that, you know, we always remember the moment, but I think people forget the pass. Scott Sattler makes that tackle on Todd Byrne, right?
Yeah.
You go back and watch that play. Penrith put in a kick, gets rebounded. It's sitting on the ground. It's sitting still, and it was pissing rain. You were at that game.
Oh
mate.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was first
Pissing
time.
rain that night. Freddie picks the ball up on the fly and in the one motion throws about a 10-metre pass and hits Todd Byrne at pace on the sideline. Off like you would never practice that pass.
No,
ever.
never.
And he doesn't spiral. He doesn't have time. He just has to flick it, and he just hits him on the chest perfectly. And like we obviously remember it for the tackle, unbelievable stuff. But if there was anyone else there in that moment, Todd Byrne doesn't get that ball.
Nah. You want to hear another weird thing? Like this shows how weird I am. How he strapped his thumbs. Strapped both his thumbs, Freddie.
Yeah, why?
It's just a memory in my head. Like that's one thing. Like when I said to you last show about Ben Hornby's one
Yeah.
blue leg skin, like I remember weird shit like that. Like how he just strapped both his thumbs with like the thin elastoplast tape.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
noticed that.
Freddie, so like being a Roosters fan, or I can't really say that anymore. I was a Roosters fan.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Freddie was it for me as a kid. Like it was always Freddie and Joey. Like everyone loved Joey. It doesn't matter who you supported. Like all my mates at school went for like Para, whoever. But they're like, oh my God, Andrew Johns, because he was like there. But like for me, Freddie was on the same level, and I still just don't understand why no one puts him in, or not no one, why he's not putting that breath more often. It kind of confuses me a little bit, especially with his record in terms of winning. Not only at club footy, like Origins, Kangaroo Tours, like
Especially for as we said, like he's won Dally M positional awards in 3 different spots. That's unbelievable.
so. People are tossing up. Who do people toss up to be the next Immortal? Darren Lockyer has won.
Yeah,
Mal
Lockie's
Meninga's
on.
won.
Well, he's already there.
Mal's
Oh,
there.
sorry, Mal's there. My bad. Mal's already there. But people always talk about Lockie, and Lockie's a freak. But Freddie's got an argument.
Freddie's my next one. for sure.
So how many comps did Lockie win? He played in some dominant sides at Brizzy.
He won the 97 Super League, if you want to count that.
Yeah,
98,
that counts at the comp.
2000,
2006.
2006. So including Super League, you're looking at 4.
So there's 4. And how many tests? Lockie played a lot of tests as well, didn't he?
Holds the record. He's 50. I think he's 52. Could even be close
In
to
Queensland games, does he hold the record for that too? Or has Cam Smith got him?
have it.
Smith's got that now.
Smith's 38, I think it was, in Origin, was it? 38 Origins? Which is a joke. Some people don't play
when you only
38
get to
NRL
play
games.
3 a year, that's
Is it 38?
Have a look.
something like that. I personally think like Lockie, Freddie, and we're getting off topic here, and this might be another one for another day. I also reckon Brett Kenny.
Oh, yeah. He's underrated as well, but like he's also not underrated. Like it depends. All the underrated stuff.
Fuck that. He's underrated, bro. 100% he's underrated. I think it's so underappreciated that Brett Kenny was the best player on the field for the biggest game of every single year. Grand final day. He was...
He's got the tag of being the greatest 5'8", I reckon, in the world at the time in Australia, and then when he went to England as well. Because what he did at Wigan, like that, they talk about that. Like him, Blake Green, and Baz, they all did certain things over there. But he scored the first try at Wembley or something. He's got some sort of record like that in front of 95,000. He talks about it when he ever gets interviewed. But Bert, like,
well, he when he won his first comp in, what was it, 1980 or 81?
He's got the greatest try in the grand final history too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like that show and go. Sometimes I feel like the bloke just fell for it on purpose. Where are you going?
Well, when he won his first comp in 1981,
His first what?
his first time. I thought I might have got away with it. That's okay. Cut it. Oh, Carmichael Hunt got me. When he won his first comp in 1981, he made his debut in 1980. He played 8 games. And then a year later, he won a grand final. He scored 2 tries. 82, he came back, he scored 2 tries. 83, he came back, he scored 2 tries. 82 and 83, he was back-to-back man of the match in grand finals.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He was 23, and he had 3 premierships and 2 back-to-back.
How many tries did he get? He got over 100, had to have, surely.
110. He was a fucking 5'8". You have a look through all those grand finals that Parramatta played.
Yeah.
There was 81, 82, 83, 84 and 86, I think it was. And they lost. Anyway, there was 5 grand finals in that time. They only lost 1 of them. And I think they scored 13 tries altogether, and he scored 6 of them.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
And there hasn't been a team that's won 3 grand finals since. Do you reckon there will be this year? If the Tigers don't?
If we don't, Penrith have got a pretty good shout, I think. They're just well.
Haven't done them any favours taking Appy, though, just quietly.
He's going to be big for us, isn't he? Like, in terms of deception around the ruck, I haven't seen anything like it. Got to play for him a bit at Manly.
You would have too.
Weirdly, when I went on, though, he went to half and I went to hooker, which I never kind of understood. But anyway, his deception in terms of hiding the ball and knowing what the first marker is going to do, so how he's going to beat the first marker, then how he's going to suck A in, what B's going to do. Like, Cam Smith's a goat, obviously, like, bar none. But in terms of ruck play, Coruscant's got actually a case to be the craftiest ever around the ruck. And people can take that however they want. Like, he's so good around the ruck.
I always say that I don't think Penrith win or make any of the last 2 grand finals if they don't sign Appy a couple of years ago.
I didn't realise how much of an impact he had on that team until he come off the bench in the... What game did he come off the bench? Was it the prelim? Or was it the game before that when they were down? Who were they down to? Souths. What game was that, prelim?
Was that during the regular season and then they did it during the finals this year?
No, it was a finals game because Souths were up in that finals game, weren't they? And then Penrith come home strong. Wasn't it 12-0 or something?
It was 12-0. It was 12-0, yeah,
and
you're right.
Coruscant come on and the game just went bang.
You're right. So Kenny was on the field first.
Yeah.
Souths were up 12-0. Coruscant comes on and then bang, bang, bang.
And that's no disrespect to Mitch Kenny because he's as tough as an old...
But Guru, you're right. The first time they trialled that was against Souths as well. So it happened 3 times this year and 2 of them were against Souths.
What do you reckon the theory is behind that? Do you reckon it's to take the bash out of the game? Because front on defensively, he's more than sound. Like, he's a good front on defender.
It takes a lot. This is why, and I said this around Origin time, I couldn't believe Freddie started with Appy and brought Cook off the bench. I reckon he should have done the other way around 100%.
I can see both arguments, though, because I get the take the thing out of the game, the bash, the barge, and Cook's speed is like that, obviously off the mark. So I could get it with tired forwards, but then again, when you're tired in the middle, and I know this because I'm a middle forward, when you have to make decisions under fatigue, oh mate, I would rather James Fisher-Harris run at me and elbow me and sit me on my ass every day than like get someone around the ruck doing this mad deceptive plays. But would you have Freddie in your all-time team? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He'd be my 13.
He's your 13?
He's 100% my next immortal. But yeah, he's definitely my team
this
somewhere.
is how good he was as a player. He could be in your all-time team as centre, at 5'8", at lock, a pinch on an edge if you randomly wanted to put him there.
You were desperate and you wanted to get him in.
Yeah.
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 But still, you got 3 other spots you can pick him in that no one had bat an eyelid at.
I'll just throw in, he played 3 games in front row at 1995.
What?
Yeah.
Did he really?
3 games in a row in front row. Kicked a field goal as well.
Hey, he was randomly good at kicking field. Not randomly, but
Yeah,
like, he was clutch.
Yeah. Just
He
popped
was
him anywhere.
clutch, man. He had a good floater too, Freddie. Like, and no one used to speak about it as a floater back in the day. Obviously, Nathan's got the best one we've seen, but like Freddie's floater was pretty good, man.
I remember, like, especially in that 2000 period, it must have been something he worked at in his game because from 2000 onwards, he became a short side master too. It was something he didn't do at the start of his career, obviously as you mature and whatnot. But I remember from that, 2000 onward when the Roosters had that real peak year, whenever you'd see him peel down the short side, it was just. I think I've heard him talk about before that they had a call at the Roosters. I think the word was Henry or something they used to use that was just, I need it now.
Yeah.
No arguments, I need it now. And I think that was his pet play. If you watch him in that 2002 grand final, he puts Craig Wing over. That was one of those Henry plays. He just came down
He put Shannon Hegarty over too, doesn't he? I'm sure he does in one of the grand finals.
You watch that grand final, as that first one, it's a really close battle and they're coming out of their own end, the Chooks, and then he takes this run through the middle where he just goes bang, 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 makes a couple of metres, and then Hegarty scores the first try off the
He
back.
played 5'8" so different to everyone else where he played as a 13 where if they needed something, he'd try and come up with an inspirational run, and then 2 plays later, he's playing that crafty half roll. Yeah, now that we're talking about it more and like your mind goes back to all the things you remember about Freddie, like he's criminally underrated in the sense that he needs to be spoken about like in way higher terms than what he is.
He should be an immortal already, in my opinion.
When are they doing the next immortal? Is there any chat on that?
I think it's a bit of a lottery.
And
God knows.
And when was
But it's going to be tough now because you've got to put Cam Smith in.
Yeah, but don't you have to
Yeah,
wait?
but you have to wait 5 years.
Oh, jeez. So how many years did he be retired?
Did they wait
2?
5 years on Joey?
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
Joey? No, I don't think so.
I don't think they did.
But that is the rule now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who? There's.
But I think also we're getting to the point now where if you're going to put Sterling or Kenny in, I think it's going to have to be now or it's probably going to move past them.
On achievements, how doesn't Cronk make it either, though?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Like, we're talking about greatest halfbacks ever. Like, is he the most winning?
He's the best winner ever.
Winningest? Is that the word? Winningest halfback?
It is a word.
You know what?
It sounds weird.
The next Immortals was scheduled to be 2022 this year. I don't know what's happened.
What's the max they can do at once?
They're doing 2 at a time.
Oh, well.
So so you can't do Smith yet. I'd probably go one of them, and then I'd go Freddie.
Wait, so if we're doing one of them, that means Lockyer misses out.
Who's one of that? You mean Sterling or Kenny or one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that means Lockyer misses out.
True.
But I reckon if Lockyer misses out this time, you could still induct Lockyer in next time. Whereas I think if you put in Lockyer and Freddie now, for me that rules out Kenny and Sterling. And maybe that is how it goes. But
I think you have to put Freddie before Lockyer as well. If nothing else, based on time and like how old they are.
Fair.
Yeah, they're pretty close, aren't they?
They're pretty close, but Freddie's just a little bit younger. Like he started when he was in school in 1989 or something.
Well, what? Freddie retired in
04.
04. Yeah.
Lockyer was 11.
See, I reckon one of them misses out though. I don't think you can have Freddie and Lockie if you're going to induct Sterling or Burt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, can you have too many of one position as an immortal, Or is it Immortal can be whatever
I
he
think
wants?
this is the whole thing. Immortals it is what it is. There doesn't there's rules, but we'll break them whenever we want. Realistically, I reckon at some point they'll I reckon this era of your Smiths, your Cronks, your GIs. There's so many to pick from in this group that I reckon eventually they're going to have to break that 2 rule and induct.
You'll start seeing more middle forwards, I reckon, as the game opens up a bit as well. Like their careers will possibly extend because it'd be shorter, sharper stints, but there's some that are going to win more. Like if Isaiah Yeo wins 3 comps in a row, for example, wins this World Cup, wins 4 Origin series, for example, in the future, his resume starts adding up to like all these grand finals, all these Australian caps, all these. You got to start saying, well, does he make it?
I disagree. I don't think it's going to go that way. Solely because we just sat here, we spoke about Lockie, we spoke about Freddie, we speak about moments. It's moments that set players apart in rugby league. Isaiah, I agree with you, mate. At the end of his career, he will have, it's similar to a Bradley Clyde.
Yeah.
But it's moments. It's moments that really separate you. That's why there's no other forwards in there, realistically.
True.
And you look at it like a Jason Taumalolo, like he's one that I think that if I don't think he'll be an immortal, but he's one that if he was to win 3 comps in a row now, which Cooper Cronk did, it's not impossible.
Yeah.
He's a guy that you could look back and go, okay, he won the Dally M. He was the first forward to do it in 30 fucking years. He defected to Tonga. He made international rugby league what it is. To become an immortal as a forward, I think you've got to have big moments. Sam, for example, we got the 2014 grand final that we look back on. But outside of that, what other moments do you look at Sam that are legendary all time sort of things? Compared to your Joeys and your friends. And you're talking about the absolute apex of rugby league players.
What about Sam's international moments? Because he had the shot on Fui when he was 18 years old, was he?
Yep, very
like
young.
That's if we're talking about iconic moments, Fui was probably the most feared prop in the world at that point. Like in terms of like the big back fence run, and Sam sat him down like comfortably as an 18-year-old middle forward in his first ever start, and he was playing with blokes like Jamie Peacock and people like that were renowned for these big tough guys. Sam's try against New Zealand in the semi-final when Sean ends up winning them the game.
That's one of the best games of rugby league you'll ever watch.
Ever.
But at the end of the day, when we're comparing the absolute best to the best, what are you going to value more, an international moment or a state of origin moment?
Then does that rule out all?
Unfairly, I think unfortunately it does. It shouldn't, but I think the way that our minds work and the way that we look back on moments, I think that you have to be playing state of origin.
Right.
I think it's tough if you're not, and it's unfair. I completely agree. It's unfair, but it's tough to become the absolute peak unless you're doing it in grand finals and state of origins, and hopefully the international landscape will change.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do feel like people that play 50 tests for their countries and like, for example, Benji won the World Cup and Benji's obviously got the iconic moment with the flick pass. He also played over 300 games. He's also my coach, so hopefully he's listening to this. Nah, but no, seriousness, like people like him and Stacey deserve definitely a shout in my own opinion. Obviously there's English people that have come over to the NRL like Sam that have had those iconic moments in big games, and I don't know what the criteria is in terms of stuff like that, but they've all had definitely iconic moments. It just depends on, if you count, how much they've won at Clubland and stuff like that, I think. But
like I look at a guy like Benji and Stace, for example. I agree that they deserve shouts, but where I would have to draw the line is that Stacey never won a comp.
Right.
And for Benji, one in 05. But as I said earlier, I remember the 05 team as Scott Prince's team.
True.
It's not Benji's team.
Right.
Whereas I look at the Roosters 02, Freddie's team.
Yeah.
I look at 01 Knights, Joey's team. I look at 06 Brisbane. And as I said, you are talking about the top 0.001%, so you've got to separate them in a ruthless fucking way.
Yeah, true.
To put them in the greatest, 13 players of all time, Immortals?
Now, 13 or 14 now.
So you get to these ruthless conversations where, and then you can go, okay, well, where's Lockie and Freddie's Dally M medal? It's not a great system, I get it, but
did either of them
Joey had 3 of them.
Did either of them not win a Dally M?
Neither of them. Freddie got player of the tournament in 97, split competition though.
Does Golden Boot count for? Does Golden Boot cross off a Dally M? Because
for me,
The only reason I say that is because that makes you the best player in the world. That's a Dally M. That's a hard question because you play in the hardest comp in the world, and to be the best player over 26 weeks, battling injuries, playing against the best players in the world is obviously hard. But then when you play an international tournament and you get named the best player in the whole world in both competitions, I mean, that's got to hold some weight.
Yeah. No, I
Like, it has
definitely
to.
agree because you got Benji who won the Golden Boot, you got Inglis who won the Golden Boot, and like I put that up with Dally M when I talk about those two.
Pretty high, man.
Oh, I just constantly feel like with that Golden Boot that when it's handed out, sometimes I sit there and go, is he the best player in the world right now?
Yeah, because they pick it off that tournament alone, or the international calendar of that year, don't they?
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. It's tough. Like, and you look through some of these Golden Boot winners, like 2018, Tommy, is it
Tommy
Makinson?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know anything about Makinson, really, to be honest with you. When you think about some of the guys, for example, that I know were playing in the NRL in 2018, I probably respectfully question that one, obviously.
Did Roger win it in 19?
19, yep.
Yeah.
Like
Sean
Sean Johnson won
17?
it. Sean Johnson won it in 2014. Sean Johnson won it. 2014, he won it.
Was that the last World Cup year? Was that the World Cup year when he scored that try? No, it wouldn't have been.
That was
17.
13.
Yeah.
That was 13. 13.
See, and
That was when Johnson chased down GI in that test match. I'll never forget that.
Oh, yeah, it was too.
Yeah.
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 That's fast.
And for example, I look at 2014, Sean Johnson won the Golden Boot. His team didn't make finals that year. And I understand the Dally M medal. Obviously, it's got its downfalls as well. There's no doubt about that whatsoever in my mind. It could potentially have more downfalls. But some of the way that we do our Rugby League awards with Dally M's and Golden Boots and even your Immortals, how it's like, no one fucking knows how. You know what the original story about the Dally M's, the Immortals is?
No.
It was a, what was it? It was a wine or something that Rugby League Week created.
I don't even know.
Yeah, if you look it up, it was like a wine that they created that they were trying to sell, and they had 6 or 7 of them. So they came up with the original Immortals, and then the Rugby League or the NRL or something brought it off Rugby League Week, and it just blew up to be this huge thing. But it was first of all to sell these 6. I think they might have been bottles of port,
Right.
and that's how it started.
Are they gonna cap it? Because you can't end up with 100 Immortals, can you? Because does that take away the rare air that they sit in?
It can't stay the way it is. Something's got to. I reckon they should make. I think they should cut it off and go Freddie, Lockie, Immortals, Kenny, Sterling, whoever, and then start something new from 2000 onwards.
Who votes for it? I don't even know who votes for it.
It's changed over
It's
the
a
years.
panel that changes every few years.
So to get voted in, it's just opinion based then?
Pretty much, yeah.
I reckon you should finish every 20 years. I reckon there should be 5 nominees. You pick the 2 of them, make it out of that. And then I reckon that out of the next 20 years, there's 5 there that you pick. And I reckon the 3 that missed out from the last 5, they get another renomination if they still don't make it.
They do something like that, don't they? Nominate? They do nominate.
They do nominate, yeah. And then I think you get 2 bites at it.
Okay, right.
That's what I'm saying. I think that Sterling and Kenny, this is going to be their second bite of the cherry, and if they miss it now, I think they'll miss it for good. So that's where
It'd be hard to put one of them in and not the other, though, wouldn't it?
very hard. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
It's tough.
Don't know.
So yeah, Freddie, I would pick him jersey 1 to 13, as we were going on with about 40 minutes ago. So great chat though. Anything else we want to? Is there anyone that, as far as the 1 to 13 thing that we didn't mention that you would have liked to have thrown in? I've got one that I want to quickly throw in, and it is the great Jason Croker from the Canberra Raiders. If you're not aware of his unbelievable career, just go through it quickly. He played 318 first grade games, but throughout his career, played 1 game at fullback, 45 at wing, 57 at centre, 58 at 5'8", 1 in the front row, 100 in the second row, and 111 at lock. So the only positions he did not run on the start in a game of NRL was hooker and halfback.
So that actually makes him the
That might
best.
make him the guy. Yeah.
I had one that we spoke about briefly before we come on, Kurt Gidley.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, I mean, he did play fullback. He could play centre wing easily. He played 5'8", he played halfback. He played hooker at Origin. I'm sure he would have played lock at some point and could easily play back row. Props, obviously, size-wise, would be difficult for him, but in terms of fitness and toughness, he'd do it easy. And he could captain off the bench. He's done that as well. The all-rounder.
What a time that was. Anyone, Matty?
You know what? I had 3, and they were the 3 we all picked. So I had Sunnyvale.
Oh, you had those 3,
GI,
did you?
yeah.
The only other one I'd chuck in there would be Beaver.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I watched a video last night. Type in 1995 World Cup semi-final, Australia versus New Zealand. It goes for like 10 minutes. It's just a Beaver, Freddie, and Joey masterclass. It is sick. It's on YouTube. Just watch it.
That 95 and 2000 World Cup squad we had, something else.
Some of those Kangaroo Tour teams are a joke, aren't they?
Oh,
Like, here's one. Oh, don't worry. Well, it's a story for another day. I was going to say Cliff Lyons, like, not to be an immortal, but I mean, like, in our previous pod, I should have mentioned Cliffy. And he's still playing touch.
he's still playing. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, absolute freak. I think it would be fair to argue he's the most naturally gifted ball player of all time.
Best vision.
Yeah, think fast, play slow, absolute wizard at it.
I need to put his highlights on Twitter because everyone keeps smashing me on how slow I am. So I might just put Cliffy's highlights up.
How good, mate. Thank you for coming on. You come on the last 2 weeks. It's been fucking unreal.
Appreciate it, bro.
Best of luck with your preseason. You're not far away.
That's it, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you, mate. Matty, thank you as always, legend.
No worries.
We'll see you next week on the off-season. I'm not sure what we're going to cover yet. I reckon we might be able to drag you back out a little bit later.
I'll come.
100%.
Bring me back,
Beautiful.
boys.
Beautiful.
Cheers, guys. Subscribe, like, comment, all the good stuff for us. We'll see you next week.